So we're joined here. I'm Kevin with Flexijet. I'm joined here by my colleague Jordan, as well as Sitza with Staircon and Jacob with Bast Floors and Staircases. We're going to be going through the interaction between a Flexijet on-site measurement file and the design process inside of Staircon. So we'll cover a couple of examples, starting with their Flexijet versions. We're actually really glad that we have Jacob here because the first example is actually from them. It's for new build on stairs, measured at some spaces, and he'll actually tell us what they were looking for and what they attempted to achieve with that. I think we've got Jordan pulling that up here. Once we kind of go through these examples, we'll jump straight into measuring, and then really excited to see the handoff over to Sitza, where all of these can actually be modeled inside of Staircon. So Jacob, we've got this example here from you. Really appreciate you sharing that with us. From what we can see here, it's, a couple lines on a page. There's some details that we can pull out of it just by looking at it, pulling up the measurement point photos, what was captured. But would you mind telling us a little bit about what you were hoping to achieve with this measurement?
Yeah, so for this one, this project it was 3 stories of empty space, and we're trying to fit 2 curved stairs into it on each floor. And so what we were really focused on was just getting the openings measured so that we know where exactly the floor openings are for the project. And then there was a lowered platform on the top floor that you can kind of see up there on the left side that we were focused on getting there too, because that's where, right there, that's where our stair is going to meet, so on that upper floor. So that one was something that we focused on. And then there's a couple like windows and doors that are kind of intruding into our space a little bit on the project. So we focused on that as well mainly, but really just focused on the floor openings for the job, kind of simple stuff. And that's where the blue lines are showing that floor opening. And then once we got that, we did the exterior walls as well, just to have them in place so we know how the whole project is laid out. And then pretty much other than that, we got everything that we needed.
Awesome. Really clean file. I mean, just like you said, looks like everything you need to put that in. I've seen where this ended up in Staircon, so I'm really excited for us to see that. Really cool to kind of hear how that went together and to see the final output. I'm excited to have that shown here in this video. And now we've got, thanks for pulling this one up, Jordan. So now we've got kind of a completed stair measurement. This was existing core measured using the Flexijet with the goal to pass through to Staircon. So we captured quite a bit of data. We're going to replicate that here live in kind of a scale version. Jordan's got a setup there in his office space where he can demonstrate how we would use the Flexijet to capture that information specifically to pass that through. Jordan, anything you wanted to share about this before we jump over to the live measurement?
Yeah, just showing that, the model here is created from the information that the user chooses to measure with their Flexijet. So, creating this measurement file in real time on the job site, grabbing the front edges of these stairs, the front position there, some positions, some points here that represent the high point on the treads. Multiple measurement points here. We see the pictures that are saved with the Flexijet in here. So we can see that this is measured, the scribe, for example, of this tread where it meets the side is all measured in here. And this is, similar data to what we saw in that last example, that great example from Bast. In this case, it's measuring not an open space. It's measuring, the core with the treads. And this information has been put together for a nice, clean and easy pass through to Staircon. And like Kevin said, we are kind of set up here. We've got we've got a small staircase behind us here, which obviously is not quite as exciting as the staircase that we'll see some pictures of Bast's work coming up soon here, or that last example that we're looking at here. But our goal is to show you what a small measurement live with Flexijet looks like. And that measurement is going to go directly into this open, clean file that we have here. We're starting from scratch. We'll put this on the page, show you what this idea of measuring directly to digital with Flexijet looks like, and that pass through there. And for this, we're connected to our Flexijet here. It's a connection directly between the computer and the Flexijet. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start this off by auto leveling. And this means that Flexijet's taking a quick read of where it sits on its tripod, referencing itself to true level and true plumb. Kevin, anything to add on that as we get started here?
No, I think we're good. Excited to see it.
Perfect. We're going to do another couple small housekeeping steps here on the Flexijet. One of the principles with Flexijet is that the outputs determine the inputs. So what we want to get out of this measurement will determine how we approach it. That way we're going to end up with all of the information we want and not have necessarily a big cloud of extra information to sort through later. And we've preset this up with some parts in our software here where we've organized some of this through. And we're going to start taking some measurements and start adding this into this measurement as we go through this. I'm going to define this, just letting it know where we're going to be measuring, and then start measuring around the ceiling hole. And Kevin, maybe you want to share any details about this as we go through.
Yeah, so this specific measurement that we're taking here, this is for that file transfer. If we were replicating this for just a 3D DXF transfer, a lot of the information that we're going to capture here, we would not necessarily need to collect. The reason we're doing that for the file transfer to Staircon is, and we'll see very shortly once we get a chance to hand this file off to SITSA, that it's preset, pre-built, it's ready to go as soon as we complete the measurement. So it's a decision that we're making here, and you can see Jordan's just aiming the Flexijet directly at what the information that he wants to define, or the data that he wants to take over to Staircon, prepped for that transfer later on. Right now we're measuring by hand. The Flexijet is designed for both use by hand or by remote control. So in this situation, makes a lot of sense. There's nothing that we need to avoid around the legs of the tripod. We have very good line of sight on the information that we're trying to collect. So he's able to measure it directly. So now we're switching back over. Jordan, I see there the staircase floor plan. So this is where we're actually defining the footprint of that stair. And we're going to come in, define, feel free to clarify what you're adding onto the page there.
For sure. It started with the outside edges, and now we're grabbing the front edges, or the extents, kind of where these treads come to. On particular staircases, it might be different information that we capture. There may be a case where the front and the back of the treads, of course, overlap each other, and I know SITS has got some examples of that with kind of a Z design there as well. But in this case, we're gonna take the most basic here, which is some of that information just as straight lines here. Now switching over to an option with Flexijet to measure the high and low points of these treads. What's interesting about this is we can measure multiple points on the tread, and it's going to be a little bit kind of conceptual what you're seeing on the page here, but we're measuring multiple points on each tread, and those points are transferring through to our Flexijet software, and it's selecting only the highest and lowest. So it's a really efficient way for us to capture that, especially if we're building on an existing core, and we want to reference that highest point of the points that we've identified. And so that's starting to come together for us nicely. And if we flip back here, just to give you a little more context of those points in the tread, maybe we'll flip over to a top view, just show where some of this information overall is starting to come together into something that we'll build into a model that looked like those examples we saw just a second ago. A little bit more detail needed here. We're just going to fill out some of our steps in our Flexijet software here, where we're actually going to measure a point on the top of the last step. We're defining the very top position here, and we're going to measure a point here. I'm going to use a point as a reference here. That would be the underside of the ceiling there. And finally, we'll reference that point that we have on our floor to kind of fill this out into some information that we have coming together here. So we're now going to use our Flexijet software. We've defined some of these elements. We're going to use our Flexijet software to combine these into something that's going to be a little bit more useful for us here. We'll come through like so and use some of our specific options. And again, outputs determine inputs. So what our goals to achieve, what we're trying to achieve with our measurement is going to inform our choices about how we get there. And in this case, we've taken this raw information. We're going to ask Flexijet to generate this into a staircase, and a couple small little details here that will just take a second to put together, and then from there we'll generate this model together. Awesome. We'll follow through with these steps, making sure that this is extended through to there and there with our extra line now completed. Let's press that start calculation button. Perfect. We've generated our staircase. So we can actually go ahead with this. We now have a kind of a basic model of what's behind us. We're going to add a little bit more detail here, just to inform the model with SITSA. And Kevin, how are we doing on time there?
I think we're looking good. Yeah, as long as we can get kind of the room in place. And then I was wondering if you could possibly set a location reference that we can use later on.
Real good. So yeah, let's do that. Let's get some information here. We'll add some information on this about just kind of the general position of the room, and maybe we'll take that landing, which for the sake of our example here today looks an awful lot like a countertop, but we'll suspend disbelief for just a moment, and we'll use that as our landing for this small model to demonstrate this for you. So what we're doing with Flexijet here is we're grabbing some context kind of beyond just the staircase, using one of our functions here designed to measure a fairly basic wireframe of this room. Again, we're focusing on the information that's important to us or useful to us, and going and building out from that, basically, as opposed to grabbing everything in the room and then paring down from that. It's a pretty efficient way for us to work on this with Flexijet. And let's grab this countertop here, and let's go ahead and let it know the elevation of this by setting that. A quick run through this so we have some information. We'll be just about ready for us to pass to SITSA in just.
And just a note on this, Jordan, once we actually built those stairs using the functions here inside of FlexiCAD, that was essentially the last step that we needed to actually have that Staircon transfer take place. This information that we're capturing now is extra information that we're using kind of to future-proof the design, right?
100%. Yeah. We're now in the kind of the ornamentation stage, let's call it, of
Sure.
Getting some extra information here to inform this project, put it all together. And really, this is this is going to give context and inform that design process through here.
So kind of going back to the example that Jacob mentioned earlier and described for us, if all that we cared about was the existing stair, we did not care about the context inside of the space, we could have ended the measurement right there and that would have been done.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you added that. The room, I think it makes a lot of sense to understand the context of these measurement files and be able to capture that in a really efficient way. Just a couple of points, and we know exactly what's going on in the greater context of the room. For sure. Let's export this file through, and we've done that now. We'll pass this directly over to SITSA. SITSA is through Teams. Is that a great way to? Is that a good way for today to do this?
And could you also export a 3D DXF? Maybe we could show both things, because now you have
perfect.
Maybe that's also, we didn't look at that before, but it might be interesting to show it also how both can come in.
For sure. And I'll just grab that measurement that we've created. I'll start with the XML here for you, if I can drop it in the chat quickly. Let's see where that is.
I'm not sure what, Jacob, what you would like to say about this job, but this was more that you afterwards, like the job was already done and then you start shooting something, wasn't it? Or how was this?
We received the Flexijet like while this job was going on, and we kind of only focused on the outside stringers for the glass company. That's why we went out there to shoot it for that.
Okay, so those stairs were already in, and then you actually were shooting just in case that you have all the measurements on site.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then you had a job too. What pictures were that? What did you use for this one? Because this one were more flights on different locations. And you actually, I saw that you created also that riser and threads. Is that correct? Or I saw something in 3D, or did you do that yourself in AutoCAD?
No, we measured this with the Flexijet, and I think this might have been the first one that we did, and we created the stair on site with the Flexijet, and then we put that information into AutoCAD, but I don't think we exported it into Staircon. We just used that information in AutoCAD to go off of. Yeah.
But you did scan it, like you scanned it, and you got from the Flexijet the same as how Jordan was showing it, that you had the stair core
Yes,
calculated?
yes, that we have done. We use that to mainly verify the information we already had, because again, this job was already in pre-production once we received it. But yeah.
Okay. And with this one, job 3. Oh, and this was the Flexijet job.
Yes,
I
that's the
didn't
one.
have, yeah, we didn't have pictures from that. Okay, but that we can discuss now. Oh yeah, and you had also some nice 3Ds. Let me put those up. Copy. This was one.
Yeah, so that's the one with the glass that we were showing.
Yeah. And this is exactly, and so the goal was for having the sizes from the glass panels, what you would be putting
Yeah,
into
so I
it.
mean, we did the whole stair, but we created this rendering prior to receiving the Flexijet. So again, it was mostly verifying our measurements and then using it for the glass.
Okay, quite a wide stair down there.
Yeah, I just wanted them, I wanted them to see what they have in the house, but we're just only doing that stair right there.
They have that wide of a stair. That's
They
crazy.
do.
Yes.
They can gain some kilograms. They can still move up the stair.
There you go.
Okay.
That passes all the codes.
Let's see. You had also another one. This one. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the second. There's 2 stairs on this rendering. There's that lower stair, and then there's an upper flight up there. That's that second one that you showed. And again, it was mostly verifying this was made prior to having the Flexijet.
And how you went about it there? You scanned the front of the riser and the top of the treads, basically.
Yes, what was out there.
Yeah, and then you got that 3D in the Flexijet with the stair, basically visual.
Yes.
Okay. It's like a labyrinth, finding your way here. And then we had another one. This was the curved stairs. Let me. Paste it. Okay. Did you end up lengthening this platform? Because I think the platform is only until here.
Yes, we are lengthening that platform. Yeah. So that's another reason why we needed to know right where it was. And then there's actually that one's a little different, but down below there's a big door on the second floor, right where that landing hits. So we had to, that's why we built that one out as well. Right, I guess I can't grab it, but right where the floor stops and the landing starts on that stair coming up there, there's a door that comes out to about midway through that landing. So that's why we built it. We're building that platform out there as well.
Okay.
To give some more room there. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. What else did
very
we?
cool to see that.
What else did we had? We looked at the pictures, Sketchfab. Okay, let me open some stuff that I had here in Staircon. So that's first job from Bast was this one. I actually took your 3D DXF, and so this is your job, and I just put the 3D DXF on there. But yeah, like you said, this was more an aftermath, like once you had.
Yeah, you can see some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, here you see the combination of if I hide all the stuff, then we see the 3D of what you were shooting on site.
Mhm.
Let's see what other files. The job number 2. Here I have the example with your Staircon design and that 3D scan that you did combined. Oh, and actually, I guess we can see here. These are the lines that I think you did the same as what Jordan was showing, right? That you took the top of the threads, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I zoom out and just hide against some walls and floor openings. I didn't hide everything yet, but yeah. So that is the 3D that we can actually also take as a core and put the stair on top of it, or we can put the stair in it. So that might be also something to start using. But yeah, so this gives an idea where you had your 3D, and now I put the design over it.
Awesome.
But
That's awesome.
gives that idea as well. I would get lost in this house. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, those are nice examples. Let's also create something. Can I close this again? Just to not have too many files open. And the third job was this. This was actually, you also did some layouts in AutoCAD, I think, right?
Yes.
And then
This is from the Flexijet file, and then we redrew our stair into that file.
yeah.
So these are kind of like our updated, what we're building off of now, drawings. We've actually got it framed out in our showroom right now, almost ready to go install.
Okay.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
There will be nice pictures.
Yes, we'll make sure there is.
So yeah, this is basically where you were working with, and obviously you having also access to AutoCAD, you could still use the same features as some other customers that have just AutoCAD and they lay out something or they get something from the architect. You can create a stair from lines from a 2D, but we can also do it from obviously the 3D. So I can also start from scratch with this one to see how that would work. But let's first start with importing. If I start a new project, I have no idea what the height is from where Jordan is working, but the simple import from a DXF could be 2D and 3D. Let me see here. I have to go to where I just saved it. You just send it to me and I go to Flexijet. Here, you just send this DXF. So basically what I see here is actually all the points that you were shooting, but then in 3D. And so if I open the Flexijet file, there's nothing manually that I need to do. I don't think, Jordan, that you said that these outlines were walls. I think if you would have done that, then also with the Flexijet file, the XML file, then it would also make walls. But we will see later on when I import it, it's doing some things automatically. So when it's just a 3D DXF, it's just we got all the lines and all the coordinates, but then I still need to say in Staircon what I want to do with it. If I want to create a stair from it, I have to say which lines are stringers, which lines are threads. If you want to have walls, I can draw walls. Let's say you have walls here up and around, so I can say these are walls. And I think you shot this thing as a floor opening. So if I say this is now floor opening, then I get that as an opening. So I can just draw on the fly and you see. Now, I think in your case, you actually had this as your floor to floor height. So most likely if I go to this line and I see what is the height of it. Do I get here maybe this height? 30.5. I guess that's the. Did I get the wrong? Let me hide my floor opening. Just trying to find a line from your floor opening. Okay, this is actually your height. So
Gotcha.
let's say 35. I just could copy paste it, but now I just say, so most likely when we're gonna import it from what you shot, it's gonna look like this in 3D, having a room that
Opening.
is for midgets, and a floor opening, and then also having a stair core where you see now your lights. So we could create obviously something from this file, but it's more work now for us because we actually have to teach what these lines are doing. Now, Jordan, you did already quite some work for me. So if I close this file and I say file import, then I'm just going to XML, and that is your XML file that you just emailed. So when I open it, you actually see already this. You said that it's a floor opening, and like I said, I think when you put the things in the layers, when there's a wall, that would have been walls. And now it's also asking, okay, I detect that you also did some stair cores or one stair core. Do you want it? And I say, yes, I do. And yeah, I want to have the height as well. So you actually see now here like a stair core. So if I look in 3D, now I just imported your file and I've got already that tiny floor opening. We have the stair in here and I can click on it and I can place create a stair from that as well in Staircon. Now still I can clean it up a little bit or use some files that you have, right? If you say, well, from here, like many customers, they use also helplines. I think Jacob, I think you use also quite sometimes helplines when you design, maybe sometimes.
A lot of helplines.
Yeah, a lot of helplines. They are quite helpful. So I'm just drawing maybe some walls. When I draw a wall, I can say left or right from the line. So now actually I want to have them on the other side. So I see now my walls here, or I could draw longer walls. And you can also say to these things, like now I was drawing it, but I maybe want to have this not this height, but I want to have it at 120. So if I look in 3D, now I actually see, in this case, like that floor opening, it doesn't really make sense that we use it for this project. So if you want to make it to look like where Jordan is staying, like the floor opening, I'm gonna hide. That we're gonna see it like this, and maybe I want to have like a countertop. So I just make here a platform and just snap to those spaces. So I don't put any dimensions, right? I just now, in this case, I do put a height, and maybe 2-inch thickness of some marble. Do we have marble? I think we have. Yeah. And those walls. Okay. So this looks a little bit what your room is, and now we're gonna place a stair on this. So I didn't put any dimensions, right? The only thing is that when I draw something, I need to know the height. So if you have the floor to floor heights, that would be something. But if that 3D line is there, like this is also a 3D line. If I click on any of the lines that you have or arcs, then I can see all the coordinates. So I can also copy that coordinate. And you actually also see the stair core has the flights horizontal, and you automatically already took it to the highest point, where if I look at the scan points, then the left and the right side are slightly a little bit different, as they are. So that leveling off also you took care of and gave me the highest point. Okay, so I select the core, right click, create a stair on it, and then we can choose what model we like to have. So in Staircon, you can set up different stair models. So if I go here to give an idea of what models are, these are some of the examples that we have when we start with a new customer, that they have some example models in it. And I think, Jacob, you also use some standard models more often than others. Is that correct, that you have some stair models set up in your database that you use more often, or how?
Yeah, we've had some made for specifically us that we use.
Yeah. So that's a typical thing, that you can choose a specific model. So now in this case, I thought it's nice to have some Z risers, so then you can still see the stair core. So I'm going to look for one of the models, and you can still change it afterwards as well. So if I go no posts, something with glass, got C rise. Okay. Place the stringers outside the scanned line, so we can say yes or no to it. In this case, I want to fit it on top of that box, so I say yes. Okay, so now we've got everything ready, and we actually, if I go to the properties, you see this is the property of the stair. I can still, if I want afterwards, change the model, so that's still an open thing to do. And I can apply it, and it applies that, or I can keep what I have. Maybe the material, let's say we want to have white oak, apply, and let's look in 3D what we have. So here we've got our stair. The only thing is I want this stringer. So we can have stringers to go mitering. In this case, maybe I don't want to have a miter, because I want to have my threads and things sticking out. Like if I go here and I zoom in a little bit, you actually see we have a small reveal that these threads, the threads and the risers, this model have the same thickness. They go in this angle. And if we somehow look underneath this stair, see what's going on, then you see actually, you see this is the scan that we get, the stair core, what Jordan was showing, and we actually exactly place the stair on top of it and in front of it. But we can do it in other ways as well, that we have the scanned lines and we put exactly our stair on top of those lines. So depending on what you would like to do, but in this case, we automatically place that stair on top of that core. And basically now we are already done, so I don't need to change anything. But some things, when it's parametric software, like you see here, this stringer, if I click on the stringer, let's go to the elevation view, to this one. So the stringer gets its shape from some parameters that you set to this model. So for instance, this went to the back of the threads with 6 inch. If I only want to have it 2 inch, in this case, I can change it. Or if you say, well, I want to have it a little bit more smooth, maybe you say, well, from here to here, I want to have it straight until there with a radius. So now you see that you quite have some tools in Staircon to make things look smoother. So if I look now in 3D, this is going to be a more nicer stair to look at. And then from there, everything is done, right? So you calculate production data. If you have a CNC machine, you can actually take all these files automatically to the CNC. So we have here our cut stringer. We've got our housed stringer with all the pockets in it. And then we also have our threads. And the threads are quite easy because they are have the same degrees on the front and the back, basically. But the riser, if I go here, This riser is totally out of any angle, because if you look in 3D, and that's maybe part of the reason I wanted to show that you, if you make a stair like this, you can imagine if you have to make this part, it's angled on all sides different, and it's even not 90 degrees. So all these angles we get calculated, and we can just run it on a 5-axis automatically. So how we go about it is we say File, we create production data, we say that we want to start our CAM license, or if it's already open. Now in this case I save it because I have already a CAM open. I say Flexijet and I say save. So now I can open that file, and here, that's the one. I open it, and yeah, we got all our parts in here. Even the panel, like now the panel, most likely you're not gonna machine it with the CNC. That's something that you would export as a DXF and maybe have a glass supplier making it. Now in this case, I also can actually go from here and export as a DXF. And I wanted to do that anyway, because then this glass panel or the elevation view can be projected on the existing stair. So I'm just gonna say export Flexijet glass panel, and I'm gonna email that to Jordan, and then he can take it from there later on to show how those 3D bolts, because you see here these bolts that you can shoot them back on site if you afterwards would make the glass to show that you can also export and use that DXF there as well. So yeah, here you just see it. If I process an item, it gets all the machining on it, and now in this case it's all 5-axis that it's cutting the piece in all directions, and that we can do for any part, wreath handrails and other things. So this is related with this example. The other example, let's say file imports, there was that stair core, that's concrete one. So I import an as what am I saying? I'm exporting XML. And you had this concrete stair. That was the one. And I say again, yes. Oh, I might have, I imported it now in this file. So let's say file new. So you can keep on importing in the same file. I'm not want to do that. I'm saying now imports. XML. This is the scan. So here you see the same. I've got a lot of 3D data. I can see exactly the lines that that Flexijet has scanned, the outside, and I've got here the core. And I've got, in this case, a realistic floor-to-floor height. So everything is actually ready for me just to maybe visually you can put some walls extra in there, which could already be in there as we mentioned before. But let's say I put here some walls and maybe on the inside as well. Go to the stair core. So then it looks a little bit more realistic. I go to the other sides. So looking at 3D, we've got our stair going up. If you want, you can always create floors extra. So if you look in 3D, then you actually see, okay, this is, so now you get a proper idea. The stair is going down like that. And walls and floors, you can always change, like this property of this walls. Let's say I want in the 3D to make it a little bit higher. So in this case, if let's say this is a concrete stair and I just want to clutter it with treads and risers, I can calculate it automatically, and I can calculate also maybe the handrail on the inside. So if I do that, same thing, selecting the core, and I have to select only the core, create a stair on top of it. Again, I take a model. Now in this case, last time we created the stringers as well. Now I don't want that. I just want to have the treads and risers. So here, I take this one. I say, okay, place the stringers outside. No need for it. And I've got a bunch of handrails on the outside. So all of these we don't really need. It's the inside that I want. So I delete my balustrades. It's this one here that I want. Now I want them to connect, but I also want actually to have it like a nice wreath in between here. So actually I can take this and I go to the stringers. Maybe I fillet this corner and I go here and I go to fillet this. So now I have a nice connection. So in elevation view, we actually see what's going on depending on the, like this thread distribution might not be the ideal. I can still even fix that. So we have customers that have this situation where they have to put a stair on top of an existing concrete stair like this one. And then typically you would see that the stair builder would maybe redistribute it a little bit to get it nicer. So I can still do that. Let's from here to this thread and then say redistribute. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just going to look here at this handrail and maybe make it a little bit more smoother. So if I see this bumpy road, I can say, well, from here to there straight to this point, nice arc, and then from here to there and to the same point, let's say straight and radius. So now it's a nice curve. So let's look in 3D. So now we've got here our handrail and we can combine them. And then our customers that have a 5-axis machine, they can actually basically the same thing. Production data, you go here to handrails, and basically I go again, sending it to cam, and I say wreath handrail. And same here, I open it, take that file, I have here my arc handrail, and it's all ready to be machined. I process it, and it's done. I can just go to the machine and machine this part. So especially even if you have like an existing stair and you have to make a handrail on top of it, if you use this Flexijet and you actually shoot these points like I had now, you don't need to make maybe the threads and the risers like I showed here for this customer's example, but you have to make this handrail that is fitting and nice, following all these threads on the right height, obviously, with to code that it's 36 height or whatever it is. So you could just shoot that with Flexijet. You shoot your basically what Jacob from Bast said. Even an existing stair, shoot the risers, shoot the threads. Flexijet makes the core. We import that into Staircon, and then how long did it took me, guys? It was like less than a minute, right? That I have even the wreath handrails done, and that you can go and machine the parts that would fit on that stair. So even for if you only make the balustrade, if you have an existing stair, you could use the Flexijet and Staircon basically to shoot the stair and get the exact balustrade that would fit on that stair as well. Okay, I am way over time, I think.
No, that was incredible to see. Thank you, Sitza. That was
You're
very
welcome.
cool.
Yeah, I think I showed some examples. Like there was one thing we also talked about one of our distributors in Europe that that is also a distributor from Flexijet, so it's a common friend of ours. They like he scanned this project, and you can actually see. I think I had some pictures as well from them, right? So I don't even know if I show that, but Alari, can I open this? Open with photos. So this is actually how he was scanning the whole thing, but you can imagine this kind of job. Yeah, without the Flexijet, I don't know how you would be able to do it. And didn't I add also a nice picture from how it looks? Okay.
Oh, wow.
So here, let me open it again with open with photos. Okay. So here you see that it's also concrete core, and they also helped with cluttering the stair with wood, and then putting the panels in there as well. And he gave me
Beautiful.
also a 3D from that. Let me see here. Notepads. Let me take that. No, this is not the one. Link Sketchfab, this one. So he also created that. If I go here. So this is actually from a Larry, what he designed in with Flexijet. He shoot all the points on site, and then he has the stair, and then they also made the glass from that, and I think also they shoot some points back, and that's basically what Jordan is still gonna show us as well. But you see actually here we could create a stair on that core as well. Like here you see that core, and then on this stair basically we could say we want to create a balustrade. Now I just put a balustrade on it, and we've got our wreath handrail. This would be more classic model. It would be like that, and if it's that with glass, I can basically go to my property of my balustrades, and you can use here the bullet balustrade with maybe something that is more glass related. But yeah, it gives an idea of what kind of. Obviously, I have to make it as a glass. Now it says a panel, but that's just the material. If I click on it, see here, this is actually glass and not wood. Then you see you can look through it.
Beautiful.
And get. So yeah, we skip a lot of lines if we have those 3D lines from you guys, right? From Flexijet gives us the 3D DXF, we can use those. And obviously that stair core is very helpful. And it's also nice for me to see that it's not taking you that long to and also to hear from Bast, from Jacob, that scanning the front of the risers, the top of the treads is quite a doable process. So it's yeah,
For sure.
interesting to see. Okay, I think we can go. How do I stop sharing? How can I go back? Okay, here. Yes, now I can see you again.
Perfect. So yeah, if you know, thank you, Sitsa, for sharing that design process. It's great to see how, you know, those measurements from Flexijet, you know, those on-site measurements, or, you know, however you're getting your on-site measurements, obviously Flexijet's a great choice for that. How that can go through and how that can inform the design. And like Sitsa said, we're going to take now that design file for the glass panel that he showed us in Staircon. We're going to take that information. We're going to use Flexijet to project it back out to the job site here. So we're going to take the information from CAD back to the job site, CAD to field or CAD to job site here. This is one of these abilities with Flexijet, and this can be a whole host of different things. It could be a balustrade like this. It could be mounting points for a staircase that's going into an open core once the design is completed. And Kevin alluded to this earlier. We passed off before we did that, but what we've actually done here is set some reference points. So on the back kind of wall here, we've set a couple reference points. It's basically a bullseye target, so that on a different day, when we take our Flexijet and return back to this job site, we've come back with the Flexijet, it's a different day, I placed it down here, it's in a different position. Well, we're going to use some of these tools in Flexijet. We're going to ask it to level itself in this new position. We're going to remeasure 2 of our known points, and from that we're going to ask Flexijet to project the information back out to this job site. And as part of this, we just want to give you kind of a bird's eye view, literally, of what Flexijet is seeing while it does this. And to do that, I'm going to open up our Flexijet live stream and let you see where we're aiming while we do this here. So we'll start by looking at the ceiling, but in just a moment, we'll show you something a little bit more different. This is Flexijet's built-in camera, the same camera we saw that was taking those pictures for us as we go. So again, we're going to relocate Flexijet. We're going to ask it to take a read of where it sits in the tripod, compensate for that digitally, and it's going to, from then we're going to remeasure a couple of our known measurement points. In this case, we've set some points on the job site before we came back, and in this case, we're coming back only a couple minutes later. And one of the keys for this, and in a lot of different types of measurements, is the flexibility about how we take that measurement information. And with Flexijet, we actually have the control we've seen before we were measuring by hand, but we can also aim it with the remote control. And that makes a big difference for us to be able to get close to what we want to measure. It makes a big difference to be able to have full control of the Flexijet here, where you can see there's different speeds, and also get right close and dial this in to where we want it to be exactly.
And a note to add while you're measuring those points, Jordan, the examples that we took a look at today, a lot of them were multi-level, but all still in the same file. Exact same process we're using here to relocate a couple feet to the left so we can project this data out is the same process that we would use to change elevation, go up to the second landing to continue a multi-level stair measurement. So really efficient with the remote control, and something that people measuring stairs will be using pretty frequently.
100%. And so now Flexijet knows where it is. We're back in our same measurement. Flexijet's in a different position. We can confirm that by asking Flexijet to, for example, show us a known corner. We knew where this corner was when the Flexijet was in another position. When we return, whether it's an hour later, or whether it's 1 week or 1 month later, and we resume the location, Flexijet can give us positive confirmation there by pointing back to one of those points. We're going to go a step further with that, and we're going to ask Flexijet to project out to some of the information that was done in that design process there. And so we're going to create just a view of this, an elevation view of this, so that we can see this from the side. And we're going to use that information that we already have on our stair core here to do this. And from there, it should be a very straightforward operation for us to bring some of this information back in. What we'll do is we'll reference some of this view from the side here. We'll use some of our software tools to place this on the page. And we'll come up here to File, Import, and we'll grab that side view here. And there it is. We've got it right from the side there. We'll place it in here. We'll let Flexijet do its thing. And we're just going to place that, where we want it to be in just a second. So we'll start with it there. Looks like we're going to need to rotate this about 90 degrees to get ourselves started. That looks like what we expect it to be. And it looks like we need to apply a mirroring transformation to this as well. We'll delete our original object there. We'll choose our point of reference here, which we think is going to be likely this bottom and front corner. And let's place that down on the page. Perfect. So we now have our side view that was designed in Staircon. We brought that back into FlexiCAD here, and we have the position of these points. One little housekeeping detail for this, for the function we're going to use, we're going to ask Flexijet to find the true points. So just going to adjust these points, adjust these so we are truly looking at the center of points on this, and I'll put them in a particular order here that's going to make it nice and convenient for us there. Finding the center, really convenient to grab the center of all these points. What's special about this is, we need to know the correct height and width position. We're looking at this from an elevation view, and in Flexijet we have some particular functions that will let us select these elements. I'm going to ask it to stand by for 7 seconds on each of these elements and go through the cycle twice. And what's special about this is Flexijet's now going to point to the position of this first point and read the surface. It's going to ensure that this surface, even though it may not be flat, that it's projecting to the correct height and the correct width, adjusting for any variations in that surface. We know that there may be variations on this depending on the material on which we're projecting. It paused for the interval that we asked it to. It's now moved on to that next point. We're taking that point, again, directly from that CAD design. We're projecting it out to the job site. When we're happy with that point, we can advance it to the next one here. So come over here, let Flexijet flash to let us know it's in the correct position. And once it's done that, and I've marked my point, we can advance it to the next one using the remote control if we'd like to do that. So very efficient, one person, on-site layout or on-site, transferring of these points, and a great precision that we're getting with the Flexijet by being able to do it this way here as well. Kevin, we're seeing that okay? It's transferring through there on the video feed?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And again, the idea of this being, information that is designed should be easy to bring back to the job site. Getting the job site information should be straightforward, but we should also be able to use that information in a logical way and have Flexijet bring that information from your design software, from these beautiful files. This great output from Staircon should be easily accessible and easily brought back to this job site when the time is right to do that. In this case, we're doing mounting points or standoff points for this glass railing. Again, this can be a number of different types of things. Drilling points in a block wall for a staircase. All those types of things. Maybe Kevin, you got if anyone has any examples of that. Balustrade mounting points. If you've got drill points for a handrail on a wall, those could also be projected from your design back to the field using Flexijet there.
Essentially anything you don't want to drill twice.
Yes. Yeah. Key point on that. So, Sitsa, thank you so much for that design, for walking us through what that looks like, and it's kind of great to bring this full circle. We started with a very basic measurement. We saw where that can go so far in Staircon, all the control over the design that's informed by these site measurements with Flexijet, and then how that design, once it's produced, this panel can be brought back to the job site, can be easily and accurately located there with those drill points mounted out for us.
Yeah, it's for me also nice to see how it can go back to the job site. A question maybe for Jacob: do you see any examples where you would maybe want to use something like that you say I want to shoot back points on the site? Are there things that you ever thought that might be interesting for this situation?
Yeah, for sure. We have all kinds of situations like that where it's glass like this, or even baluster placement, or the whole bunch of things. We could definitely use this.
Oh yeah, baluster placement is actually also maybe an interesting one. Yeah.
Null placement, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, getting those those positions exact and precise is a really key, really key part of executing the great design that you've created, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Sitsa did see a question come in here about codes. When you're designing those when you're designing a Staircon, can you take? Is there the option to use different references to different codes in different regions? Can that be considered as part of your design?
Yeah, so when you design in Staircon, you can choose which run and rise and which balustrade height, and most likely when you choose your set stair, if I share my screen, like for instance for this stair, or for whatever other stair that we had, like we had the other one that I did, or this is our design. The balustrade height, the floor to floor, like if I go back to where is this stair the concrete core here, this one. So we actually see here in elevation view, I get actually the crosses, and here I didn't do a good job. It's like these crosses are actually indicating what the minimum height is from the code. So actually I should have put my balustrade a little bit higher so that I can see if I'm making something smooth, that I still stay above what the code says that I need to be above the nosing from the threads. But any stair can be checked on the code, so we can say here test it on the building code, and then I get a list of where it would be. Like the headroom seems to be an issue because I have a floor opening, and then here it says it's 78 and 7/16, so I'm very close to 80 but not yet there. So that might be that's a code issue that you say, hey, I want to double check that. So we can check and these codes we can put in different, like even our users, they can make changes in it. So you can have for each, if you work in different states or provinces, you can just pick the one when you have a new project. You can actually, select which norm to select. Now I had the residential code for US, what we have from the SMA, but it can be any code, and we calculate on the rise run, even if there's a floor opening. Let's say I made these walls here, but if I go on the next floor and this stair was going up like here, which side was it going up? Here on the left side. So let's say that on the next floor you've got some walls, and even if this is not a normal wall, but it would be a wall that is sloping ceiling, let's say it goes 40-inch high and then 45 degrees, and let's make it a little bit higher. Then you will actually, I want to go the other way. Properties, say -45. So now you see, if I go up here, if I test this on the norm, my headroom, what I had before, it's going to be most likely more a problem as before. So if I go here, test on the norm, and you see now I get 12, 13, 14, 15. They're all going to be an issue because you're going to hit the ceiling up there. So yeah, having Staircon is quite an easy tool to make sure that you're going to be code compliant. I don't know, Jacob, do you ever use that? Do you have an example to say where you would be using some of the things for the code that you tested on some jobs?
Yeah, we have used it before. Probably not as much as we should, but there's a couple things like ballast or spacing and things like that, headroom as well, where we definitely use it. We check it on there.
Yeah.
And I'll just put in a plug for Flexijet here, that that slope ceiling that you showed there. So that's a great example of, we're capturing, like we did in this small example behind us, capturing that site information. Obviously ceilings are important for stairs, but being able to accurately and efficiently capture that slope of a particular ceiling where it impacts is going to be a benefit if you were to choose to measure with Flexijet as well.
Yeah, I think that's I didn't think of it when I was doing it, but yeah, that would be a real thing on site that you should capture, because then we can because now I just said it's 45 degrees at this height, but I just did something, right? But if it's a real thing, you need to know where does it go, which angle is it? And I can imagine if you don't have the Flexijet, you have to measure it, you have to calculate what is the angle,
place it.
So all these things, if we would have the 3D lines, I would have seen it already in 3D. I could have placed the wall, and I could just could
just build
exactly know if we're gonna have a headache walking this stair or not. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Kevin?
No, that's fantastic. I'm really glad we all got a chance to meet and present this information. I think we covered quite a bit today that I'm really glad that the SMA members are going to be able to see. Jacob, thank you so much for joining. Really, really helpful, really informative what you were able to contribute here. Appreciate you sharing those files, joining us on this conversation. So it's like I said before, really, really cool to see all that come together. Really glad that we're able to contribute with some of this measurement data. And Jordan, thanks for presenting.